The second reading, Paul's letter to the Ephesians. In Christ Jesus, you who once were far off have become near by the blood of Christ. For he is our peace. He who made both one and broke down the dividing wall of enmity. In the first reading from Jeremiah, Yahweh is kind of letting loose, scolding the leaders of the community, the Pharisees, high priests, the pastors, for basically deserting the people, being busy with their own business, their checking accounts and paying their bills, and making sure they had income, making sure they were respected. They were shepherds who just deserted the sheep. And Yahweh promises that I will step in and I will correct this abuse. Will make it better. In the letter to the Ephesians, Paul, this is after probably 30, 35, 40 years perhaps of living a new life as a follower of the way. He wasn't considered Christian, certainly not calling himself Roman Catholic. But he was reflecting on the experiences that he had as a Jew, and how he was so convinced that the way he was taught was absolutely infallible. And he served that mentality with a passion. And when people came saying that Jesus was resurrected and that he is the Messiah, Paul went into a rage. And fed by his rage, he tore into the homes of these believers, pulling them out, persecuting them, throwing them in prison. And then he was stopped in his tracks, we know. And somehow, over a period of, we don't know how long exactly, maybe 2 or 3 years, he had a very powerful personal experience of Jesus, the resurrected one. And so he took all his passion and went at it full strength, causing all kinds of twisted heads, question marks. And he went at this new way with a passion, just like he had before. But he stumbled on something. And that was an understanding that Jesus was not coming back as they thought to bring all the faithful Jews together into a messianic period of 1,000 years. He wasn't showing up the way they wanted or expected. And then he concluded that it's probably because Jesus is waiting for the Gentiles to come into this group. And that was opposed by Peter and some of the other apostles. And they had this big meeting, showdown. And they finally say, well, Paul, you go your way, we'll go our way, and we hope we'll all meet when Jesus does show up again. We'll all come to that big party together. We'll trust that maybe you're on to something. And so he walks into communities where people were really hostile too. Some of the Jewish community, who were his brothers and sisters, they resented that he was now messing with Gentiles, pagans. And the pagans were suspicious of him from the first place anyway. But eventually, there was a reconciliation. And that's when he, at the end of his life, he's writing back to the Ephesians. And he talks of this amazing grace, this amazing gift of union, solidarity, peace with one another, even though we're Democrats and Republicans, even though we have a lot of discomfort with each other. And Jesus in the gospel must have been by himself, because the apostles come running back to him after they had been out on missionary activity, preaching and healing. They came back to say all that had happened. They were very excited. And he said, well, you've earned some rest. You're probably very tired because you haven't even had a chance to eat. Let's go across the water. Let's take a few days off. And they get in the boat, relieved to think that they're going to have some time with the Lord alone, and they're going to catch their breath and maybe get a good meal, and then all of a sudden there are hundreds of people on the shore. Jesus would yell at them and say, go back home, get out of here. You should have seen us last week when we were available. Well, he moves among them with compassion. And I think each of these readings today can shed some light on our experience that we're living in right now. I'm more in touch with my own experience than yours, probably. But I'm really tired. I'm tired, but I don't even watch television anymore. It's just too much. It's too much. It's overload. I'm also getting used to the fact that I'm 79, going to be 80 in a few months. That's like, how did that happen? Why did that happen? And I'm standing here talking, and I really can't see your faces because I don't have my long distance glasses. I know you're there, and if you fall asleep, I won't know. But anyway, and I was at a conference last week with 70 musicians, and I was supposed to be their chaplain. I know nothing about music. I just know what I like and what I don't like. And it was fascinating in one way, because I couldn't understand when they were talking to me. Even at the dining room, there was a lot of noise. And it began to dawn on me that I am losing my hearing. I think I need hearing aids. Wow. So these very clear expectations that I will always be this way, I'll always be able to see, hear, talk, be clear, that shifts. And all the things that I thought were going to happen politically in this country 10 years ago, 2 years ago, last month, are going way beyond what I'm patient with. And so it's consoling to see Jesus looking at the apostles and saying, you guys are really tired. Why don't we take a few days off? Let's go to the other side. It's also consoling to hear Paul reflecting back at the end of his life, to the Ephesians and say, you know, in the past, we wouldn't even talk to each other. We were hostile against each other, Jew and Gentile. But somehow, through the very blood of the Christ, we have been brought together. Now, we also know that after he died, the story continued to be a challenge. Jew and Gentile, and then East and West Christianity, Orthodox and West, etc., etc. Then the Reformation, Protestant and Catholic, and German and Irish, and whatever, you know. It's like this disturbance takes no rest. And that's like what the apostles, when they were pulling into the shore, and they saw the people, Jesus didn't use his megaphone voice and say, get out of here, give us a break. They took a deep breath and they walked into the crowd. I think that's part of the salvation news today for us, is that we can acknowledge our weaknesses, what we cannot do as well as we used to do. We acknowledge that there are differences. And we acknowledge that, you know, no matter how hard I try, I still have very deep opinions, even prejudices, that color my perception. So it's almost like a yo-yo. We go out, we come back. We go out, we come back. We go out, you know, and each time we hope that there is more resistance, more elasticity, more of a peace, that I have less hostility towards certain people. I begin to appreciate some people that I had taken for granted for months, years. Appreciate having moments of coffee or tea or a beer with them. And I believe that what Paul was realizing at the end of his life is a gift that we can all share. And it's a promise from the book of Jeremiah that Yahweh is going to intervene and set things in their correct perspective. That we will not be left orphans, but we will be cared for in ways we do not expect. So I think the message that I've been asked to give you is to be patient. To be patient with yourselves. Because if you're not patient with yourself, you know who you're going to take it out on. Not me, not myself, but it's the other people. Those who I feel safe being annoyed with. And I feel I have a right to because I didn't put the dishes in the dishwasher correctly last night. Whatever. So I think it's a chance that Jesus is saying, as we're coming in here to report on our past few weeks or week, say you've done great stuff, I'm happy for you, but you look tired. And you need a break. Let's go away together for a bit here. Let's just be grateful that the God we believe in is one who respects our rhythm. Our God understands us even better than we do ourselves. And is happy when we are happy. Is sad when we are sad. And is completely one with us. That's our hope. You can say, well, okay, I'm willing to try it, but I don't know. I really don't know. I've been doing this a lot, and I'm not so sure that God is even hearing my concerns today. Well, take it on my word, but don't take it on my word. That's why at the Eucharist we have two big movements. The first, the liturgy of the Word. We hear the Scriptures, somebody gets up and tries to talk about the Scriptures, and maybe we'll come together, maybe it was really clarifying, and we're grateful and we're all enthused. But if you're still stumped and perplexed and tired, there's a second movement, and that is when we are fed. And we're not fed just a nice homily, or some good advice, or a challenge, or just some lovely music. We are fed by the very flesh and blood of our hope and our love, Jesus Christ. And if we can believe it brings a deeper measure of peace, assurance, and joy. So as we prepare the offering together, let us consciously anticipate this communion together with the Most Holy One, the one who gave a break to his apostles, and who, even though he was tired, stepped out of the boat and ministered to all the people calling on him. Never abandons us. Let us give thanks.